The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of our Brooklyn loft like it was trying to drown out the screams echoing in my head. I saw the text. Alex, I choked out. My voice cracking like cheap glass under his boot. Phone clutched in my fist as evidence of his late-night lies with that barista from the coffee shop down the block. He didn't even flinch, just stood there in the dim glow of the string lights we'd hung together last Christmas. His blue eyes cold as the East River in winter. And said, "Phil, it's not what you think," like that line hadn't been ripped from every bad rom-com we'd binge-watched on lazy Sundays. I dropped the phone, watching it skitter across the hardwood like a dying insect. And that's when the first sob ripped free from my chest, ugly, guttural, the kind that leaves you hollowed out. Alex reached for me, but I jerked back, the betrayal burning hotter than the whiskey we'd shared the night before. When he'd whispered, "I love you," into my neck like it meant something eternal. In that moment, as thunder cracked outside and my world splintered into 1,000 jagged pieces, I realized love wasn't the anchor I'd always believed it to be, it was the storm that wrecked you. The days blurred into a gray haze after that. The kind of New York autumn where the leaves clung to the sidewalks like desperate regrets, refusing to let go even as the wind tore at them. I called in sick to my graphic design gig at the ad agency in Midtown, third day in a row, and holed up in the loft. The space that used to feel like our sanctuary now echoing with ghosts. Alex had packed a bag that same night, mumbling something about needing space, his cologne lingering on the pillows like a cruel joke. By morning, he was gone, leaving behind a half-empty closet and a fridge stocked with his favorite IPA, as if he'd planned the exit all along. I scrolled through our photos on my phone until the battery died. Each one a knife twist, us at Coney Island last summer. Cotton candy smeared on his grin as he kissed my cheek, the two of us under the Brooklyn Bridge at midnight, his hand in mine, promising forever in the shadow of the city lights. How had I missed the signs? The late nights at work, the way his laugh had grown distant, like he was already halfway out the door. We'd been together 5 years, since I was 23, fresh out of Pratt Institute with dreams of designing album covers for indie bands, and he was the charming bartender at that dive in Williamsburg who slipped me free shots and his number scribbled on a napkin. Caleb Hayes. They called me back then, the wide-eyed kid from Ohio who'd traded cornfields for concrete jungles, chasing a life where being gay wasn't the town whisper but just. Alex had been my first real love. The one who taught me how to navigate the glitter and grit of queer New York, pride parades that shut down Fifth Avenue, underground parties in abandoned warehouses where bodies moved like liquid fire, brunches at Buttermilk Channel where we dissect our friends' hookups over bottomless mimosas. He'd made me believe in the fairy tale, that two guys could build something unbreakable amid the chaos. But now, I was unraveling. Friends texted check-ins, my best pal Mia from the agency, with her endless supply of snark and sympathy, Jordan, the theater kid who'd crashed on our couch more times than I could count, but I ghosted them all. Instead, I drowned in reruns of Queer as Folk, the old Showtime version, letting the raw edges of those characters mirror my own mess. By day 4, the loft reeked of takeout containers and unwashed sheets, and I hadn't shaved in so long my reflection in the bathroom mirror looked like a stranger's, hollow-cheeked, eyes shadowed with the kind of exhaustion that sleep couldn't touch. That's when the knock came. Sharp, consistent, cutting through the drone of the TV like a lifeline I didn't want. I ignored it at first, assuming it was the super checking on the leaky faucet we'd reported months ago. But it persisted, evolving into a rhythmic pattern, 3 quick raps, 2 more, like some secret code from my childhood treehouse days. Groaning, I dragged myself to the door, yanking it open with more force than intended. There stood Ethan, my old college roommate from Pratt, looking every bit the all-American heartthrob he'd been back then, 6'2", broad shoulders filling out a navy pea coat, blonde hair tousled just so, and those green eyes that could disarm a room. He held a paper bag from Zabbers, smoked salmon, bagels, the works, and a six-pack of craft cider dangling from his fingers. Jesus, Cal, he said. His voice a low rumble laced with that Midwestern warmth he could never quite shake, even after a decade in the city. You look like hell. Mia ratted you out, said you haven't answered her in days. Let me in before I stage an intervention right here in the hallway. I wanted to slam the door, to curl back into my pity party, but Ethan's gaze held me, steady, unjudging, the way it had that freshman year when I'd come out to him over cheap ramen in our dorm, terrified he'd bolt. He hadn't. Instead, he'd cracked a joke about how my coming out story was way less dramatic than his sister's, who'd announced it at Thanksgiving with a turkey baster as her prop. Fine, I muttered, stepping aside. But if you try to hug me, I'll deck you, he chuckled, brushing past me with the ease of someone who'd known me inside out once upon a time. We hadn't been close since graduation, life pulling us in different directions. Ethan had gone the corporate route, climbing the ladder at a tech startup in Chelsea, dating a string of models and finance bros who made my head spin. I'd heard whispers through the grapevine, a bad breakup last year, something about a guy who'd cleaned him out emotionally and financially. But seeing him now, unpacking the bag on my cluttered kitchen island with that boyish grin, it was like no time had passed. Sit, he ordered, sliding a plate my way. Then talk. Or don't talk. But I'm not leaving till you look less like a zombie. I picked at the bagel, the cream cheese thick on my tongue, and the words tumbled out anyway, halting at first, then in a flood. The texts. The fight. The way Alex's "I love you" had turned to ash in my mouth. Ethan listened without interrupting. His fork paused midair, those green eyes darkening with a fury I hadn't expected. When I finished, voice hoarse from the retelling, he set his plate down with a deliberate clink. That son of a bitch, he growled, low and fierce. He doesn't deserve you. Never did. If he could throw it away like that. I left, bitter and broken. Easy for you to say. You've got your pick, mister. Perfect life, hopping from one Adonis to the next, came out sharper than I meant, laced with the envy I'd buried deep. Ethan had always been the golden boy, the one who turned heads at parties, who could charm his way out of anything. I was the artsy sidekick, the one who sketched logos while he networked. His jaw tightened, but not in anger, at least, not at me. You think that's perfect? Last guy I dated? He ghosted me after I caught him swiping on Grindr at my own birthday party. Woke up to an empty bed and a Venmo request for the Uber home. He leaned back, rubbing a hand over his face. And for the first time, I saw the cracks, the faint lines around his eyes, the weariness in his slouch. We're all just fumbling in the dark. Some of us crash harder. The rain had eased to a drizzle by then, the city lights smearing gold across the windows. We cracked open the ciders, the tart fizz cutting through the heaviness, and talked like we used to, about everything and nothing. Ethan's startup drama, my latest failed pitch for a queer-owned clothing line. He laughed at my impressions of the agency suits, and I teased him about his obsession with those overpriced running clubs in the park. For the first time in days, the loft didn't feel like a tomb. It felt alive. As the night deepened, the conversation turned quieter, confessions slipping out like secrets in the confessional. "I always envied you. You know," Ethan admitted, staring into his bottle. "The way you love, fierce, no holds barred." Alex was lucky as hell. His knee brushed mine under the island. Accidental at first, then lingering. Heat bloomed in my chest. Unbidden, a spark in the wreckage. I pulled away, standing abruptly to clear the plates, my heart hammering. "Don't," I said softly, not sure if I meant it for him or myself. But Ethan was there a second later, his hand on my shoulder. Said he. "Cal," he murmured, turning me gently. Our eyes locked, and in that suspended breath, the air thickened with the unsaid. Then it shattered. My phone buzzed on the counter, Alex's name flashing like a ghost. I froze, the cider turning sour in my veins. Ethan glanced at it, his expression hardening. "Answer it," he said, voice edged with challenge. "Or let me." I snatched it up, thumb hovering, but the call went to voicemail. The message played on speaker before I could stop it, Alex's voice, slurred and pleading. "Viv, I fucked up. Come on, let's talk. I miss you." The words hung there, venomous and sweet, twisting the knife anew. Tears came then, hot, relentless, spilling over before I could dam them. I sank to the floor, back against the cabinets, sobs racking my frame like aftershocks. Ethan didn't hesitate. He dropped down beside me, pulling me into his chest without a word, his arms a fortress around the storm. "Shoo," he whispered into my hair, one hand stroking my back in slow, soothing circles. "I've got you. Let it out." I did, crying for the boy I'd been, for the love I'd lost, for the fear that maybe I wasn't worth keeping. His shirt soaked through, but he held on, murmuring nonsense about how the city would eat you alive if you let it, how we'd survive this together. Time dissolved in the cocoon of his embrace, the rain a distant lullaby. When the sobs finally ebbed, leaving me wrung out and raw, I lifted my head. Ethan's face was inches from mine, his eyes searching, breath mingling with my own. Vulnerability etched every line of him, the damp lashes, the parted lips, the faint scar above his brow from that stupid skateboarding bet in college. "Ethan," I breathed, the word a question, a plea. And then, in the most unexpected moment, the kind that defies gravity and logic, he kissed me. Not tentative, not pitying, but deep and claiming, his lips firm against mine, tasting of cider and salt and something electric. My hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer as the world tilted, the betrayal fading to a dull ache under the rush of this new fire. It was messy, desperate, born of grief and hunger, but God, it felt like coming home. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, the silence humming with possibility. "What the hell are we doing?" I whispered, half laughing through the tears. Ethan's smile was crooked, tender. "Starting over," he said simply. "If you'll let me." But as the high faded, doubt crept in like fog off the harbor. Alex's voicemail echoed in my skull, a reminder that trust was a fragile thing. Ethan, steady, beautiful Ethan, deserved more than my wreckage. I pulled back, wiping my face. I can't. Not yet. It's too soon. His nod was slow, but understanding. But I'm not going anywhere. Not this time. He helped me to the couch, tucked a blanket around me, and crashed on the floor beside it, his presence a quiet anchor through the night. Sleep came fitfully, dreams tangled with Alex's lies and Ethan's kiss, the city pulsing outside like a heartbeat refusing to quit. Morning brought weak sunlight slanting through the blinds, and with it, a tentative peace. Ethan was already up, brewing coffee in the French press we'd bought on a whim in Soho. Pancakes? He asked, holding up a box of mix like it was contraband. I managed a real smile, the first in days. Only if you don't burn them like that time in the dorm. We ate cross-legged on the living room rug, the awkwardness of last night softened by the mundane. But as I scrolled through emails, pretending to work, my phone lit up again, another text from Alex. Meet me at our spot, please. I can explain. Our spot, the pier at Dumbo, where we'd watched fireworks on the 4th. His head on my shoulder as the sky exploded in color. My thumb hovered. Traitorous. Ethan noticed, his fork pausing. Don't, he said quietly. Not demanding. You deserve better than his scraps. I set the phone face down, the words landing like truth. But the pull was magnetic. The what if's a siren song. That afternoon, after Ethan headed to a meeting, promising to check in later, I found myself on the subway, rattling toward Brooklyn Heights, the decision made in a haze of unresolved ache. The pier was empty save for a few joggers braving the chill, the Manhattan skyline a glittering taunt across the water. Alex was there, leaning against the railing, hands shoved in his pockets, looking smaller than I remembered. Cal, he said, relief flooding his face as I approached. Thank God. I thought you'd save it. I cut him off, voice steadier than I felt. But just tell me why. He winced, running a hand through his hair. It was stupid. The guy from the shop, he flirted. I flirted back. It didn't mean anything. I was stressed. Work's been killing me. And you? You've been so wrapped up in your projects lately. The excuse landed like a slap. So it's my fault? For chasing my dreams? Anger surged, hot and clarifying. 5 years? Alex. 5 years of building something, and you torch it because you're stressed? He stepped closer, eyes pleading. I love you. We can fix this. Therapy? Whatever. Please. His hand reached for mine, and for a heartbeat, I let it, the muscle memory of touch, of safety. But then I saw it, the flicker in his gaze, the same evasion I'd ignored for months. I pulled away. No. We're done. As I turned to go, he grabbed my arm, harder than he meant, his voice breaking. You can't just walk away. After everything, the grip tightened, a flash of something dark in his eyes, and panic spiked through me. Let go, I said, low and firm, yanking free. He released me, stumbling back, regret twisting his features. I'm sorry, he whispered. But I was already walking. The wind whipping tears from my eyes, not for him, but for the illusion I'd clung to. Back in the loft, I collapsed on the couch, the confrontation replaying like a bad loop. My phone buzzed, Ethan's text. How you holding up? Beers later? I typed back, need you. He arrived 20 minutes later. Takeout tie in hand. No questions asked. We ate in silence at first, the spice burning away the remnants of the day. Then, as the fortune cookies cracked open, mine reading, a new path awaits, his, trust the journey, the dam broke again. I told him everything, the words spilling faster this time, laced with the rage and relief of closure. Ethan listened, then pulled me close, his chin resting on my head. Proud of you, he murmured. That took guts. In his arms, the weight lifted, fraction by fraction. We talked late into the evening, about the future, vague and scary, but shared. About the trip to Fire Island we'd always talked about, the gallery show I was pitching. His laugh rumbled against my side when I joked about swearing off blondes forever. And when our eyes met, the air hummed again, charged but patient. This time, when he leaned in, I met him halfway, the kiss slower, exploratory, a promise rather than a spark. His hands framed my face, thumbs brushing away the last traces of salt, and for the first time, hope flickered real and warm. But life, as New York teaches you, doesn't hand out neat bows. 2 days later, Mia cornered me at the agency, her dark curls bouncing as she dragged me into the break room. Spill, she demanded, handing me a lot. Ethan's been texting me for recon. What's the vibe? I hesitated, the glow of those stolen moments with him still fresh. It's complicated. Good complicated. But Alex emailed, apologizing, again. Wants to stay friends. Mia's eye roll was Olympic level. Hell no. Block him. You're finally free. She was right. But the email sat unread in my inbox. A loose thread. That night, Ethan and I met at a dive in the East Village, neon signs buzzing, jukebox crooning Springsteen. We played pool, his form terrible as ever, and I let him win once, just to see that triumphant grin. Over shots of Jameson, he opened up more, the loneliness of his climb, the way he'd watched Alex and me from afar, envying the ease we had. You were always the one who got away, he admitted. Cue stick forgotten. Back in college, I was too chicken shit to say it. Figured you'd laugh. My heart stuttered. I wouldn't have. But timing's a bitch. We stumbled back to my place. The walk laced with laughter and stolen kisses under street lamps. In the loft, clothes shed like old skin. We moved together, tentative at first, then urgent, bodies mapping unfamiliar territory with reverent hands. His touch was patient, worshipful, drawing gasps from me that echoed off the walls. Afterward, tangled in sheets, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on my back, he whispered, "This feels right." Like it was waiting. I believed him, in that hazy afterglow. But dawn brought reality, a knock at the door, insistent and wrong. Alex stood there, eyes bloodshot, a bottle of my favorite bourbon in hand. One last talk, he begged. For old times, Ethan, shirtless and rumpled from bed, peered behind me, his stance protective. The air crackled, old love clashing with new, betrayal hanging like smoke. "Leave," I said to Alex, voice steel. "We're over." He glanced at Ethan, realization dawning, and something ugly twisted his face. "Him? Of all people? You're replacing me with my ex-roommate? That's low. Even for you." The word stung, dredging up insecurities I'd thought buried. Ethan tensed, but I stepped forward. "Get out." Now. Alex hurled the bottle against the wall, glass shattering, liquor pooling like blood, and stormed off, curses fading down the stairs. In the wreckage, Ethan pulled me close. "You okay?" I nodded, but the shake in my hands betrayed me. "He knows how to hit where it hurts." "We'll clean it up," Ethan said, practical as ever, grabbing a broom. As we swept shards, side by side, the mess felt symbolic, broken pieces we could reassemble, stronger. Weeks blurred into a rhythm, mornings with Ethan's coffee, lazy Sundays sketching while he read the Times, nights where his body became my favorite landscape. We ventured out, dinner at l'Artsy, where the pasta melted on our tongues and his foot hooked mine under the table, a show at B. His hand warm in mine during the ovation. Friends noticed, Mia toasting us at our first group hang with, "About damn time, you idiots." But shadows lingered. Alex's social media purge, unfollowing me, then reposting pics with the barista, all teeth and tropical filters from some Miami getaway, sent stabs of jealousy I hated myself for. Ethan saw it, held me through the nights it kept me up. "He's poison," he'd say, kissing my temple. "Your antidote." The real storm hit at my gallery pitch, a series of portraits capturing queer resilience, inspired by the men I'd loved and lost. The curator loved it, offered a show in 3 months, but in the high of celebration, Ethan dropped a bomb over drinks at our spot. The same pier where I'd confronted Alex. "I'm getting transferred," he said, swirling his gin. "Seattle. Startups expanding. The promotion, big money. Corner office." The world tilted, the skyline blurring. "When?" "End of the month." "A month." 30 days to build something, only to watch it fracture. "And us." My voice was small, the boy from Ohio peeking through. With my hand, "Ernest. Come with me. Or long distance. Whatever you want." "I love you." The words hung, beautiful and terrifying. I'd run from it once, scorched by Alex's flame. Could I trust this? "I need time," I whispered, pulling away as rain began to spit from the sky. He nodded, hurt flickering, but gave me space. The next weeks were agony, packing his apartment, stolen moments that tasted bittersweet. I threw myself into the show. Canvas's bleeding emotion, Ethan's profile in profile, Alex's ghost in shadow. The night before his flight, we lay in my bed, the loft stripped of his things, echoes everywhere. "Don't go," I said. Finally, the plea breaking free. He cupped my face, eyes shining. "Then say the word." "I'll stay." But pride, fear, whatever poison lingered, held my tongue. "You should go. It's your dream." His kiss was farewell, fierce and final. "Call me when you're ready." The door clicked shut, And I shattered, sobs echoing in the empty space. The rain a merciless chorus. Months in Seattle stretched like taffy. Sweet at first but pulling thinner. Stickier with distance. Ethan thrived, texts buzzing with updates, corner office views of Puget Sound, team-building hikes where he'd crack corny jokes to break the ice. Miss your laugh, he'd add. A heart emoji that did little to bridge the miles. I threw myself into the gallery prep. The loft a whirlwind of drop cloths and turpentine. Mia commandeering weekends to help hang frames. This is fire. Cal, she'd say. Stepping back from a canvas of Ethan's eyes, tender. Stormy green, captured in the moment he'd held me. It's you. Raw and real. They'll eat it up. The opening night arrived like a fever dream, Soho gallery buzzing with collectors in tailored suits. Indie musicians sipping rose. The air thick with perfume and possibility. I wore the button-down Ethan had picked out last winter, soft chambray that hugged my shoulders just right, his cologne spritzed on as a talisman. Friends toasted my success. Mia's arm looped through mine as she whispered, "Proud doesn't cover it, babe." But my eyes kept darting to the door, half expecting Alex's shadow or Ethan's light. No one came. Not until the crowd thinned, the caterers packing up flutes of Prosecco, and I was alone with the red dot stickers blooming like blood on price tags. That's when the door swung open, admitting a figure drenched from the downpour outside, broad frame, dripping peacoat, blonde hair plastered to his forehead. Ethan. He looked wrecked, stubble shadowing his jaw. Eyes red-rimmed like he'd driven straight through from the airport. "Couldn't miss this," he said. Voice rough. Holding up a crumpled ticket stub. Flight got delayed. Rented a car at JFK. Made it just in time. I crossed the room in 3 strides, fisting his wet shirt, pulling him into a kiss that tasted of airport coffee and desperation. The gallery faded, the art, the accolades, nothing mattered but his hands on my waist, anchoring me as thunder grumbled outside. "You idiot," I gasped when we broke apart. "You could have called." And missed the dramatic entrance? His grin was weary but real. The one that crinkled his eyes. We talked in hushed tones amid the canvases, his fingers tracing the edge of my portrait of us, intertwined hands against a city skyline. "It's beautiful," he murmured. "You're beautiful." That night, we walked back to the loft through sheets of rain, sharing an umbrella that did nothing against the deluge. In the elevator, his mouth found mine again, slower this time, savoring. Clothes peeled off in a trail to the bedroom, water pooling on the floor, our bodies rediscovering each other with the urgency of the parted. He mapped me with lips and teeth, collarbone, the sensitive hollow of my thigh, drawing out moans that mingled with the storm. "Missed this," he breathed against my skin, voice breaking. "Missed you." Afterward, curled into him, the sheets a tangled nest. Reality seeped back. "The job, Beth." Tracing the freckles on his chest. He said, hands stilling on my back. "Quit." Suspended it. Told them I needed time to figure out us. His laugh was self-deprecating. "Boss thinks I'm crazy." Maybe I am. Guilt twisted in my gut. "You gave up everything." "No," he said firmly, tilting my chin up. "I chose the everything that matters." We spent the weekend in a bubble brunch at Jack's wife Frida, where the shakshuka burned our tongues and his knee pressed mine under the table, Lazy afternoons in Washington Square Park? Feeding the pigeons and dodging tourists? His head on my shoulder as a busker strummed Wonderwall. It felt like the early days with Alex, but deeper, scarred, wiser. Ethan opened up about Seattle, the isolation, the way the rain mirrored his mood, nights staring at my texts until dawn. I kept replaying that last night, he confessed over gelato in the village. Wishing I'd fought harder. I was scared, I admitted, licking pistachio from my spoon. After Alex, trust felt like jumping without a net. He nodded, understanding etching his features. I get it. But I'm not him. I'm the guy who'll catch you every time. The bubble burst Monday morning. Ethan's phone exploding with voicemails from the startup. Handle it, he told them. Voice clipped. Then powered it off. But the call I dreaded came from Mia. During our coffee run to devotion, her tone laced with that big sister edge. Alex showed up at the agency yesterday. Ranting about you, stealing his life. How Ethan's always been jealous. Security had to escort him out. My stomach dropped. The espresso turning bitter. What the hell? We haven't spoken since. He's spiraling, she said. Heard he's been hitting the bars hard. Bad-mouthing you to mutuals. Watch your back. Okay. Ethan's face darkened when I relayed it over lunch at a falafel spot in the Bowery. Let him talk. It's noise. But it wasn't. That evening, as we prepped for a friend's birthday bash at Lebain, the rooftop club with its infinity pool and pulsing bass, my phone lit up with a blocked number. The text, "You think Ethan's better? He's using you to get back at me." Remember sophomore year? He wanted me first. Pathetic. Ice flooded my veins. Sophomore year, Pratt's infamous Halloween party, where Ethan had confessed a drunken crush on Alex, only for Alex to laugh it off and hook up with me instead. No. Buried it as ancient history. But now, it festered. At the club, the strobe lights fractured everything, bodies grinding, laughter echoing off the glass walls, the Hudson glittering below like shattered diamonds. Ethan pulled me onto the dance floor, his hips syncing with mine to some thumping remix of Tainted Love. Sweat slicked our skin, his breath hot on my neck as he whispered filth that made me laugh and shiver. For an hour, it was perfect, us against the world, the beat drowning doubt. Then I saw him, Alex, across the rooftop, nursing a drink at the bar. Eyes locked on us like lasers. He raised his glass in mock toast, smirking, and something snapped. I excused myself, weaving through the crowd, heart pounding. What do you want? I demanded, stopping short of the bar. He leaned in, Scotch breath sour. To warn you. Ethan's got a pattern, pines after what's not his, then bails when it gets real. Like with me. Lies, I spat. But the seed was planted. Doubts whisper. Alex's laugh was cruel. Ask him about Portland. The conference last year. He didn't tell you, did he? Hook up in the hotel bar. Just once, he said. But once is enough. I reeled back. The words a gut punch. Portland, Ethan's work trip. The one where he'd sent blurry selfies from a brewpub. No mention of anyone else. Back on the floor, Ethan sensed the shift, pulling me close. You okay? The lie came easy. Yeah. Just hot in here. We left early. The cab ride silent. his hand on my thigh, a question I couldn't answer. In the loft, passion flared, rougher than before, edged with unspoken tension. His teeth grazed my shoulder, drawing a hiss. But as he moved inside me, urgency masking the fracture, I couldn't shake Alex's venom. Morning brought clarity, or its cruel cousin. Ethan woke to find me at the kitchen table, coffee cold, phone open to an old email chain from Pratt days, Ethan's confession to Alex. Forwarded God knows how by a mutual friend years ago. "What is this?" he asked, voice thick with sleep. I slid it toward him. "Portland. Tell me it's not true." His face crumpled. Confirmation before words. It was a mistake. One night, after too many drinks, I was lonely, felt the door. Before I knew what we could be, I ended it. Swore I'd never. Alex knew, I interrupted. Standing. He threw it at me last night. And you never said. Because it was nothing. Buried history. He reached for me. Desperate. Please. Don't let him poison this. But the trust I'd rebuilt teetered. Cracks spiderwebbing. I need space, I said. Echoing Alex's old line. Irony bitter. To think. He dressed in silence. The peacoat a shroud. At the door. Turned. Eyes pleading. I love you. Caleb Hayes. Fight for us. The door closed, and I slid to the floor. The loft echoing with absence again. Days bled into a numb routine. Work. Runs along the promenade where the wind whipped doubt into frenzy. Mia's check-ins laced with worry. I avoided Ethan's calls. The voicemails piling like accusations. Miss you. Talk to me. The breaking point came at a queer-lit reading in the village. Raw poetry about love's wreckage. Lines that sliced too close. Halfway through, my phone vibrated. Alex. Told you so. He's gone? We were better. Rage ignited. Pure and clarifying. I stormed out, hailing a cab to Alex's new place in Bushwick, a squat in a converted warehouse. Bass thumping from inside. He answered shirtless. Surprise flickering to smugness. Cal? To what do I? I shoved the printed texts at him, the ones he'd sent. The barista's replies. This is you. Petty. Broken. Ethan's mistake was forgiving you once. Mine was ever thinking we were endgame. He grabbed my wrist, pulling me inside. The door slamming. You don't get it. He always wanted what was mine. The fight escalated, words flying like shrapnel. His jealousy laid bare. You used me, he snarled, backing me against the wall. To feel something. But it was always Ethan in the wings. I shoved him off. Chest heaving. No. It was you who betrayed first. And now, you're just the echo. I left him there, buttering, the night air cool on my flushed skin. On the subway home, clarity crashed. Ethan wasn't Alex. His mistake was human, not defining. I dialed. Voicemail picking up. I'm sorry. Come back. Please. He arrived at dawn. Taxi idling outside. Bags under his eyes from a red-eye back. We collided in the doorway, forgiveness in his arms. Apologies in my kisses. Never again, he vowed. Forehead to mine. No secrets. We spent the day in bed, talking through the rot. His Portland regret. My buried fears. Alex's toxicity. By evening, we walked to the pier, our pier now, watching ferries cut wakes in the dusk. Seattle? I asked. He shrugged. Grin returning. Remote work. Or we find something here. Together. Relief bloomed. Tentative but true. But fate, that capricious bitch, had one more twist. 2 weeks later, at a rooftop fundraiser for the gallery, string lights twinkling, jazz quartet lilting, Ethan pulled me aside. Nervous energy crackling. Got something, he said, handing me a slim box. Inside, tickets to Portland. Not for escape, but reclamation, a weekend away. His note tucked in, let's rewrite the story. You and me. I left, tears pricking, pulling him into a dance as the city sprawled below. But as we swayed, my phone buzzed in my pocket, unknown number. A voice message. Boxes? Slurred and shattered, I'm sorry. For everything. I can't do this anymore. The plea hung, heavy with implication. Ethan saw my face fall. What is it? I played it. The rooftop fading. He's drunk. Sounds bad. Ethan's jaw set. Protective. Call the cops? Or we go? No. Decision crystallized. He needs help. Not us. But therapy. For him. And us. We drove through the night to Alex's, finding him slumped on the fire escape, bottle in hand, tears carving tracks down his face. Go away, he mumbled. But there was no fight left. Ethan knelt first, hand on his shoulder. Not like this. We're getting you help. It took hours, ambulance lights flashing blue against the bricks, paramedics coaxing him inside, promises of rehab whispered in the ER waiting room. As dawn broke, Alex gripped my hand, eyes clearing fractionally. Forgive me. Not yet, I said gently. But healing? Yeah. For all of us. Back home, Ethan and I collapsed. Exhaustion a shared blanket. You're a good man, Caleb Hayes, he murmured, kissing my knuckles. So are you. And in that quiet, the pieces settled, not perfect, but whole. Winter clamped down on the city like a vice. Snow blanketing the streets in hush, turning Manhattan into a postcard of muffled magic. Ethan and I settled into a rhythm that felt earned, mornings tangled in flannel sheets. His breath warm against my neck as NPR droned traffic updates, evenings at the kitchen table. Him buried in spreadsheets while I sketched mood boards for a new client. Our feet hooked under the wood. Thought. Once a mausoleum of memories. Bloomed anew, Ethan's running shoes by the door. A framed print from my show on the wall. The faint scent of his sandalwood soap mingling with my turpentine. Alex's crisis lingered like frostbite. A numb ache we checked on sporadically. He checked into a facility upstate, 30 days. Then outpatient. His text sparse but sincere, day 5. But clearer. Ethan and I debated boundaries over takeout from Susie's Korean on a blustery night. Snow devils swirling past the windows. He's not our responsibility, Ethan said. Chopsticks poised over bibimbap. But ignoring him? That's not us. I nodded, stealing a kimchi from his bowl. Weekly calls. Neutral ground. And therapy, for all three. Maybe? Group shit. He raised a brow. Amused. You turning us into a throuple support circle? I swatted him, laughing. Hell no. Human. The group session started in a nondescript office in Chelsea, circle of folding chairs. Herbal tea steaming in styrofoam cups. A therapist named Lena with silver-streaked hair and eyes that saw through bullshit. First meet, awkward as hell. Alex fidgeting in a hoodie 2 sizes too big. Ethan cracking ice with a joke about traffic. My turn came. Voice steady, betrayal broke me. But so did holding on to it. Alex met my gaze. Nodding. The ghost of apology in his slump. To worked. In fits and starts, raw edges smoothing. Laughter punctuating the tears. Said, Ethan and I grew roots. A joint gym membership at Equinox, where he'd spot me on bench presses and I'd mock his deadlifts, cooking classes at the Institute of Culinary Education, burning paella but nailing tiramisu, feeding each other bites dusted with cocoa. Pride came and went, rainbow flags snapping in the breeze down Fifth, us on a float tossing condoms and candy, his arm around my waist as confetti rained. But under the idol, Fishers hummed. Ethan's remote gig soured, endless Zooms with Seattle execs who nitpicked his East Coast vibe, deadlines bleeding into weekends. I'd catch him pacing the balcony at midnight. Phone to ear. Voice edged with frustration. It's fine, he'd say when I asked, pulling me back to bed with a kiss that tasted of deflection. My own cracks showed in the studio, a big contract for a queer apps branding. But imposter syndrome gnawed. Who are you to speak for us? I'd stare at the ceiling. Ethan snores a distant comfort, wondering if love was just trading one set of ghosts for another. Spring thawed the city into frenzy, cherry blossoms shedding pink petals like confetti along the High Line, where we'd walk hand in hand, debating craft beers at rooftop tastings. One such night, after a Loggerheads event with views of the Empire State pulsing red for Heart Health Month, Ethan proposed a trip, Fire Island. Like we always said. Just us. No signal. No bullshit. I agreed. Heart lifting. The ferry chugged us out on a golden afternoon. Salt wind whipping our hair. The Pines boardwalks welcoming with their shirtless revelry, queer utopia. All dunes and discretion. We rented a weathered cottage steps from the beach. Its porch strung with hammocks swaying in the breeze. Days blurred, morning swims in the Atlantic. Waves crashing cold and alive, afternoons napping in the sun. His head on my stomach. Fingers laced, evenings around driftwood bonfires. Sharing stories with strangers who became instant friends, tales of first loves. Plus ones. The drag of coming out in red states. One night, under a sky stitched with stars, we slipped away to Cherry Grove, the historic lesbian enclave, for a tea dance that spilled into dusk. Bodies moved fluid under tiki torches. A DJ spinning house remixes of Vogue. Ethan pulled me close, his hips grinding mine to the beat. Sweat slick and electric. Marry me, he whispered into my ear. The words half lost in the bass, but landing like lightning. Heart slamming. What? Tigrin. Spinning me out then back in. Not now. Someday. When you're ready. But say you'll think about it. I kissed him then, devouring, tasting salt and promise. Yes, I breathed. To thinking. To us. Back at the cottage. We made love on the porch swing. Creaking wood and ocean roar are only witnesses, slow, worshipful. His name a mantra on my lips. Afterward, wrapped in a blanket against the chill, he traced my ring finger. Imagine it. Vows on this beach. Mia officiating with her awful puns. The vision warmed me. But doubt's whisper slithered in. What if it's too soon? What if you break him like Alex broke you? Summer scorched in. Humidity turning the subways into saunas. The city a haze of iced lattes and fire hydrant sprays. Ethan's job imploded. A restructure? His role evolving into redundancy. He landed interviews. But the rejections piled. Great fit. But we leaned on each other, me dragging him to matinee shows at the Public, him surprising me with picnic baskets in Central Park, prosciutto and figs under the Bethesda fountain. Alex resurfaced stronger, 6 months sober, volunteering at a queer youth center in Harlem. Our coffee meetups shifted from tense to tentative camaraderie, the group therapy a bridge we'd all crossed. You're happy, he observed one afternoon at Lupin Quotidian, stirring oat milk into his lot. With him. Good. I nodded. Guarded. Yeah. You. Working on it. His smile was small. Genuine. Thanks. For not letting me drown. No drama. Just growth, a quiet victory. But Ethan's unemployment wore grooves, late-night job scrolls. His laughter rare. The way he'd flinch at my credit card swipes for date nights. I hate this, he confessed one rainy Tuesday. Rain lashing the windows as we huddled on the couch with the Great British Bake Off flickering. Feeling like dead weight. You're not, I insisted. Straddling his lap. Hands framing his face. You're my weight. The good kind. He kissed me fiercely. Hands roaming. But the urgency felt edged, desperation masking fear. We tumbled to the rug. Bodies frantic. Chasing release from the unspoken. Afterward, his head on my chest. Heartbeat sinking. He murmured, "What if I can't bounce back?" "You will," I said. Believing it for both of us. We will. Autumn leaves turned the park into a riot of rust and gold. Crunching underfoot as we jogged the reservoir loop. Breath fogging in the crisp air. Ethan's callback came during a harvest festival in Union Square. Pumpkins spice everything. Fiddlers sawing reels. They want me, he hooped. Lifting me off my feet amid cider stands and hay bales. Marketing director. In the city, we celebrated at Gramercy Tavern. Oysters and oaky Chardonnay. Toasts clinking like wind chimes. To us, he said. Eyes shining. The unbreakable ones. But unbreakable? Life tested that. Holiday season ramped up, Thanksgiving at Mia's, where her mom's turkey rivaled any Norman Rockwell. And Ethan's family FaceTimed from Ohio. His mom's apple pie recipe a virtual handoff. Christmas Eve, we strung lights on a scrappy tree from the lot on Bedford. Ornaments tinkling as we hung them, a glittery rainbow from my show. A wooden carving he'd whittled in Seattle. Midnight mass at a steep. Pats, not for faith. But the glow, candles flickering on stone. Voices soaring in silent night. Snow falling soft. He dropped to one knee in the shadow of the spires. Caleb, he said. Ring box velvet in his palm. A simple band. Silver with a sapphire inlay. Catching starlight. You're my anchor. My storm. My everything. Marry me? Tears blurred him. joy and terror colliding. Yes, I choked. Pulling him up, our kiss sealing it amid cheers from passers-by. Good. Yes. The new year dawned electric, engagement buzz rippling through friends. Mia already plotting a legendary shower with penis-shaped cake. We planned a spring wedding, small, loft ceremony, rooftop reception with skyline views. Vows we'd write ourselves. But February brought the blizzard, the kind that shuts down the bridges and buries cars in drifts. Power flickered. The loft a cocoon of blankets and board games. Ethan's laughter echoing as we battled at Scrabble, him cheating with Z on a triple word. In the candlelight, shadows dancing, he made love to me slow and deep, whispering promises against my skin, forever starts now. Yet whispers of doubt persisted, not mine, but his. Unearthed in a therapy solo after a fight over wedding RSVPs. What if I'm not enough, he admitted later. Over hot toddies at a speakeasy in the Flatiron. After Alex. The job crap. You deserve steady. I took his hand. The ring cool between our palms. You are steady. The kind that bends, not breaks. Spring unfurled tentative, tulips pushing through mulch in the gardens. Our save-the-date stamped with a doodle of the pier. Rehearsal dinner loomed. Family flying in, my Ohio folks. Awkward but trying. His clan boisterous with casserole recipes. The eve before. Nerves jangling. Ethan vanished after work, phone dead. Texts unread. Panic clawed, not again. Not him. I paced the loft, calling Mia. Jordan, nothing. By midnight, visions of Rex or worse looped. Then the door flew open. Snow flurries trailing him. Arms laden with a massive canvas. Wrapped in brown paper. Surprise, he panted. Grinning through exhaustion. Unrolled, my wedding portrait, not commissioned, but painted by him. Secret lessons at an atelier. Half smile vulnerable. Eyes alight with that post-kiss glow. Brooklyn Bridge arched behind like a halo. Painted. I breathe. Tracing the brushstrokes. His hands. His heart. Couldn't let you outdo me on the art front. He pulled me close. Paint-flecked fingers in my hair. I love you. Every messy, beautiful inch. We made love on the floor amid drop cloths. Laughter bubbling between gasps. The canvas propped like a vow. Wedding day dawned crystalline, sky a flawless blue. The loft transformed with wildflowers and fairy lights. Friends in linen suits milling with mimosas. My dad, tie crooked, clapped Ethan's shoulder. Take care of my boy. His mom teared up, dabbing with a hanky, like sons. Vows exchanged at sunset on the balcony. City humming below, mine. You held me when I broke, kissed me when I mended. Here's my whole heart, guard it fierce. You're my unexpected, my always. In storms and sun, I'm yours. Rings slid on, cheers erupted, and as we kissed, sealing, the world righted. But happily ever after? It's the work. Alex, best man by grace, toasted with sober wit, to love that forgives, not forgets. We danced late, bodies swaying to it last. His whisper in my ear, ready for the rest? Always, I said. And meant it, through betrayals past. Uncertainties ahead. The human tangle of it all. The first year of marriage unfolded like a jazz riff, improvised. Soulful. with offbeats that tested the melody. We honeymooned in Provincetown, Cape Cod's queer haven, bike rides along the dunes, lobster rolls dripping butter at the canteen, nights in a B&B where the bed creaked under our rediscoveries. Thin tanned golden, his laugh freer, and I sketched him against the surf, waves curling like questions around his ankles. Back in the city, life layered on, his new role at a nonprofit for LGBTQ+ media, mine expanding the studio into a collective with queer artists of color. The loft strained, it seems, easels crowding corners. His guitar, a wedding gift, propped by the couch. Half-finished songs scrawled on napkins. We talked expansion, a bigger place in Crown Heights, brownstone with a garden for summer barbecues. But marriage's underbelly surfaced subtle, a forgotten anniversary dinner. Him buried in grants while I prepped a TEDx talk on queer visibility. Fights flared. You promised date night. At snap. Slamming cabinets. And you promised to unplug, he'd retort, storming to the balcony for air. Makeup sex followed. Fierce and forgiving. But the pattern etched worry. Are we fraying already? Therapy helped. Lena circle now just us two. Unpacking the afterglow crash. Love's not static, she said. Her voice a gentle prod. It's choice. Daily. We recommitted. Tuesday tacos at Los Tacos No. 1. No phones. Sunday sunsets at the Oculus. Watching commuters blur into light. Alex wove in peripherally, sober sponsor to a kid from the center. Dating a poet with sleeve tattoos and a motorcycle. Our brunches evolved to quarterly. Easy chatter over eggs Benedict at Balthazar. Proud of you both, he'd say. Clinking glasses. The past a scar. Not open wound. Summer brought a curveball. Ethan's mom diagnosed with early-stage breast cancer. Her call crackling from Ohio. Routine, she downplayed. But we flew Midwestern immediate, me holding her hand through chemo chats. Him mowing her lawn with teenage vigor. The heartland stretched flat and familiar. Corn whispering memories of my own youth, closeted summers at the lake. Stolen glances with the neighbor boy. In a motel outside Dayton, Ethan confessed over vending machine coffee, scared shitless. What if I lose her? I pulled him close in the queen bed. Neon from the highway striping our skin. Then we grieved together. Like everything. She rallied, pink ribbons and all, and fall found us stronger. Gratitude sharpening edges. Thanksgiving in Brooklyn, 20 at our table. Mia's stuffing a legend. Ethan's dad carving turkey with dad jokes. Toasts circled, to survivors. To love's quiet revolutions. Winter whispered change again. Peeing on a stick in the loft bathroom. 2 lines stark against white. Not possible. We'd agreed, no kids. Not yet. The world too jagged for tiny hearts. But biology, that sly bastard, had other plans. Donor sperm from a clinic uptown. Casual eye after a tipsy dinner party. Just seeing, we'd said. But positive. Then found me there. Test trembling in my hand. His face shut. Then joy exploding like 4th fireworks. A baby. Kissing my still flat belly. Our baby. Panic followed elation. Appointments at Mount Sinai. Ultrasounds blurring into beans on screens. Nursery hunts in Red Hook. Cribs of reclaimed wood. I swelled. Moods at Tempest. Craving pickles at 3 a.m. Sobbing at the Notebook reruns. Ethan adapted seamless. Ginger tea brews. Foot rubs by candlelight. His hands splayed protective over the bump during walks in Prospect Park. Leaves crunching gold. Spring birthed the bump into prominence. Strangers cooing on the F train. Wedding band stretched. But his eyes on me, reverent? Hungry, stoked fires. Sex shifted tender, me on top. His hands worshipping curves. Whispers of gorgeous against stretch-marked skin. Labor hit at dawn on a June scorcher, contractions like Atlantic breakers. Ethan white-knuckling the wheel to the hospital. Hours blurred, epidurals. Monitors beeping. His face inches from mine. Coaching breaths. "You're a warrior," he murmured. Sweat beading his brow. At 4:17 p.m. Under fluorescent hum. She arrived, Eloise Rose Hayes Reed. 7 pounds of fury and wonder. Tiny fists flailing. Cry piercing the room like triumph. Ethan cut the cord. Tears streaming. Then placed her on my chest, warm. Vernixlick. Eyes squinting at the light. "Hi. Baby girl," I whispered. Heart fracturing open. He leaned in, kissing us both, forehead. The crown of her downy head. We did this. Nights fractured into shifts, her wails echoing off nursery walls painted starry blue. Ethan's lullabies off-key but earnest. My breasts aching with milk and miracles. Sleepless. We'd collapse on the couch at dawn. Eloise nestled between. Her breaths a symphony. Friends rotated in, Mia with diapers and donuts. Alex with a hand-knitted blanket. His eyes soft. "Uncle Alex," he joked, cradling her gingerly. Who'd have thought? Challenges mounted, colic spells that frayed nerves. Ethan's remote meetings with a fussy backdrop. My freelance gigs squeezed between feedings. A blowout fight erupted over laundry, me hormonal and overwhelmed. Him snappish from exhaustion. "I can't do this alone," I yelled. Tears hot. She froze. Then pulled me into the rocker. Eloise asleep in her bassinet. "You're not." "I'm here." Always. We sought balance, date nights at home. Babysitter from the co-op. Stealing kisses over candlelit pasta. Summer weekends at Rockaway Beach. Her toes in the sand. Us building castles that tides claimed. Fall marked her firsts, rolling over on the rug. Gummy smiles at Ethan's peekaboo. Halloween as a tiny pumpkin. Photos we'd frame. At the pier, our origin point, we watched her gurgle at the gulls. Ethan's arm around me. "Remember that night?" he mused. "You crying?" Me holding on. I leaned into him. Wind tousling our hair. Best unexpected ever. Winter's chill brought reflection, holiday cards with her cherub face. Ethan's promotion to director. My gallery solo on fatherhood's tender edges. New Year's. We danced in the living room, Eloise in a sling against his chest. Her sighs sinking with "Ain't no mountain high enough." "To more," he toasted with sparkling cider. But humanity's thread pulled taut again, Alex's call at midnight. Voice cracking, relapse. A slip after a bad breakup. "I need help." Again. We rallied, intervention at his place. Lean on speed dial. A bed secured at the upstate center. Driving him there. Snow-slick roads. He gripped my shoulder. "You saved me once. Teach me to save myself." Spring cycled eternal, Eloise's first steps wobbly across the loft. Into Ethan's arms, cherry blossoms again. Petals in her curls. We bought the brownstone. Keys jingling like promises. Garden bursting with tomatoes and zinnias. Years layered, her school plays, pigtailed shepherd in the Christmas pageant. Ethan's TED Talk on inclusive media. My book deal for queer family portraits. Fights came, teen tantrums. Career pivots, but so did grace. Apologies over coffee. Hands held in crisis. One autumn eve. Eloise 9. Raking leaves in the yard. Just. How'd you and Daddy meet? Ethan and I exchanged glances. Him smirking. He held me while I cried, I said, pulling her into a pile of crimson. Then kissed me when I least expected. She giggled. Leaves crunching. Romantic. It was thought. Just profoundly human. In the city's endless hum. We'd built not perfection, but presence, love as verb, as choice, as the quiet revolution of holding on. And in the unexpected moments, the rain-kissed dawn, her laughter echoing, his hand in mine, we found our always.